Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Yay for Business podcast. It's me, Courtney Shaw, and we are starting a new month. It's March 2021. And if you've been listening to some of the content I've been putting out, I was explaining a few times in a few places, Instagram lives and things like that I'm doing a theme every single month. So this month's theme for March is launching your signature program, your signature course. And today is going to be really juicy. We're going to be talking about your course launch map, like the to-do list that you need in order to launch your course. So let's dive in. Okay, so as usual, everything I talk about is very in alignment with our program Yay for 100K. So today I actually have another freebie for you that I've pulled out of Yay for 100K and modified a bit just so that it's not giving away our lessons and stuff, because there were some templates and swipe copy and things linked in there. Sorry, not giving that away for free. But the launch checklist is really the overview we give our clients of, okay, here, we've given you all these lessons on, okay, how to create your webinar, how to plan your launch, how to write your sales emails, how to do your Facebook Lives, how to do all that. Here's sort of like the total checklist of how everything fits together. And so I thought this sort of bigger picture checklist and overview would be really good so you can get a taste of how we teach launching. And this is based on me working with dozens and dozens and dozens of course creators over the years, me launching my own courses. And I've learned so many different methods. I've done every strategy out there, you name it, the video series, the challenges, the, early birds, the webinars, everything. And the strategy we teach is the one that is the most proven and consistent, and the one that you can leverage for years and years to come. So we teach our clients, you develop your launch, you develop your content, all of your copy, your sales funnel, for lack of a better term. And then that doesn't change the next time you launch, right? This is the big mistake people make, is they reinvent the wheel every time they launch. They think, people already saw those emails and now they're going to be annoyed by them or something. And I just want you to be open to the fact that that's not true. And the people who are successful with course launches, they rinse and repeat a lot. So anyway, I don't want to get too off on that tangent, but if you do want to work with us on this, the first thing we do with our clients is streamlining your signature service, because we help you to turn that into a signature course. It doesn't have to be identical to your service. Oftentimes it's, we have a client who's a web designer and she does web design one-on-one with her clients, but then her course is teaching other web designers her process for web design. So it's not always exactly the same thing, right? It's not exactly the same target market, but it's aligned enough that it makes your business really efficient. Okay. So if you want to grab the download that goes with today's episode, the link is in the show notes. It's over at courtneyshaw.com/launch checklist, all one word, launch checklist. Okay. And you can go ahead and grab that freebie and take a look at it. You might want to look at it as I go through the episode. Now, if you're driving or you're at the gym or whatever, just listen to it now and then you can go grab it later, no problem. But it's a really good visual for those of you visual learners out there to follow along. Now, the reason I'm focused on this topic first this month, and we're going to be talking about various aspects of launching throughout the month. We're going to be bringing in a guest we're going to jam all about copywriting for your launch, which is so important. It's everything. We're going to be talking about mindset for launching. We're going to hit, what is the one I'm missing here? We are also going to, sorry, I'm just scrolling up in my document. We're also going to be talking about, launch math. Like the numbers you need to have, the email list. I'm going to demystify all of that. So stay with me for the rest of the month if you're interested in learning how to launch your course. And then, of course, if you want to fast track all of it and implement, come join us inside of Yay for 100K. You can come apply at courtneyshaw.com/apply. Now, I want you guys to understand the big picture of all that's involved in a launch, in a proper launch, because I think the biggest issue so many people have is they way underestimate what is involved in launching a course. It can be a lot to wrap your mind around, but there shouldn't be a lot of guesswork. Okay, so what our clients experience is like, oh, this is a lot, but I know exactly what to do, right? Like, I don't want to lie to you and be like, oh, it's so easy. All you do is like whip up a webinar in a night. And then no, the webinar, we take a month sometimes 2 months with our clients to create the content for their webinar. It is the most important, valuable asset you will have ever created in your business up until that point. We want to get it right. We want you to launch and get results. We don't want you to launch fast just so you can, for the sake of launching. Okay? If you haven't heard me say this before, you're going to hear me say it a lot. It's all about data over drama. And we're going to break that down so much in our episode about the launch mindset. And we're going to talk about the data a lot in our episode about the actual numbers and math behind launching that you need to know about. And I just want to share, like, I just had an instance in my business, radical transparency. It's one of our core values at Courtney Shaw HQ. Radical transparency. I just had something happen in my business a few weeks ago where I was feeling a lot of drama and a lot of emotion around our finances. We're really stepping into a new phase of the business. We've just, as of today, the time I'm recording this episode anyway, transitioning some of our team members to employees, which is like mind blown. That's the gesture I'm making right now. And I don't know if you know this, but I've never had a salary job. I've had employment before, but the idea of being someone's employer officially, not just a contractor, has been a lot for me. There's been a lot. It's a lot of responsibility. I've messed a lot of things up. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've had people get frustrated with me, and that's all normal, right? Like, that's just all part of growth, but it was causing me a lot of distress in the moment. And what I realized is I was experiencing drama, but the reason I was experiencing all that drama is because I wasn't clear on what the numbers actually were. I was just indulging in a lot of fear. I was feeling a lot of like, worst case scenario, like nothing's going to work. And when you find yourself really catastrophizing like that, it's usually because your brain doesn't have clarity. It doesn't know the facts. And that's what I mean when I talk about data over drama. I'm talking about what are the facts. And here's the thing. This is why coaching is so important. And this is why I will never stop screaming from a mountaintop about how awesome Yay for 100K is, because we work with you so closely. You might think you're looking at the data, but we will call you out on where you're creating drama in the nicest way possible. Of course, it's not going to be like a scary thing, but we will show you, hey, look, that's not what the numbers say. So let's talk about where that story is coming from with lots of compassion, right? We all have our stories for a reason, but we don't want them to perpetuate us, being stuck and not being able to move forward because we have this story in our heads. Like, a story I have that comes up every time I get to a new level is, I can't handle this. It's a very particular flavor of imposter syndrome, and it comes from me feeling like I'm not capable of doing something. And so I just sort of bury my head in the sand. I can't do it. I'm not qualified. And so that's one that came up for me over the financial situation that we're walking into in this new phase of the business. So this will happen to you, or a version of that, your own version will happen during your launch. So our mindset episode will be really helpful for that, because I'm going to talk about some really common mindset traps that folks fall into when they launch. One of our clients, our newer clients, Valerie, who's listening to this because she is also our podcast manager, she posted something on Instagram stories recently that I loved, and I couldn't agree more. She said, business is 80% mindset and 20% strategy. I was like, yeah, that's it. Like, the strategy is so important, but the mindset is what's under the water of the iceberg, right? Like, everyone thinks they need the strategy until they get the strategy, and then they're not implementing it. This is the sort of like trick I play on our clients, which I know sounds like malicious, but I promise it's not, is that I give our clients every single strategy, every step, every template, every piece of copy they need to write, because I want them to see that even when they have all of that, they're going to struggle, and that they can no longer blame it on not having the strategy. It has to be something that's going on in my head. There's some story I have, just like I shared with you about the finances. And so I'm going to talk a lot about strategy today when we go through this checklist, but I want you to know that you're going to have fears come up even as you walk through this checklist. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, that won't work for me. Oh, that's like, just pay attention to these thoughts that come up. I just also had another one of our newer clients. She wrote me a message and she said, so many coaches are either strategy or mindset, masculine or feminine energy. Yay for 100K combines the two so beautifully. I don't roll my eyes at the mindset, and the strategy feels aligned with integrity and happiness. Oh my God, like, could that have been a better compliment for an Enneagram 7 who wants to bring joy to everyone? So I just wanted to preface and lay the foundation for this checklist. I know this is a bit of a longer intro than we're used to, but that said, let's go ahead and dive in. All right. So when you get the checklist, it's a Google document. I have a note at the top. I've modified this checklist for a freebie. Okay. So it's a modified version of what our Yay for 100K clients get. It's going to reference specific templates and lessons. Normally in the normal version of this document, all of those are linked. I've taken those links out. Again, sorry. But we, work with our clients, our paid clients on that. They're the ones who get our templates, and I would love you to be one too. So you can go over to CourtneyShaw.com/apply if you're interested. So scrolling down, what you're going to see is the first category we have here is your program waitlist page. Now, a quick note about this checklist is it doesn't go in chronological order of what is going to happen for second, third, okay, you obviously, like, people down the wait list, then they're going to, get invited to the webinar, then they're going to, they're going to attend the webinar or not, then they're going to decide you're going to get sales emails or they're going to enroll or not. We have this outlined in terms of what you're going to do first, second, third, fourth. Okay. I'm just checking that because, yeah. Okay. Cool. So some of these things aren't going to happen in the order that they are outlined here. So the first thing we have is your program waitlist page. We have all of our clients quickly set up a page for their signature program before they even create it. This is such a massive thing to do. It's such a mindset thing to be like, okay, it's there and I have this waitlist page and it's connected to my power opt-in, which is something we teach inside of the program. I'm not going to get into right now. And they can set it up in 30 minutes or less. We have a template for them and everything. But essentially what I want you to walk away with here is that you're going to have a waitlist page for your program is one of the first things you're going to get up. Now, the waitlist is going to then deliver, not the waitlist. When somebody signs up for the waitlist, what's going to happen is it's then going to trigger anyone who's new to your email list to get a very special welcome sequence from you that's all automated, that's going to nurture them even more. And it's going to take them to what we call your power opt-in. So we're really going to nurture those leads on your waitlist. Okay. So our to-dos here is create a waitlist page, normally based on our lead pages template that we give our clients. You want to make sure you connect that waitlist page to your email marketing provider so that you can have it automated to set up those emails, after people get on the waitlist. And then you want to start sending your traffic to that page. So you want to make sure that you're promoting the waitlist regularly. This is going to help you to build a lot of confidence before you head into your launch. Okay? Now, the next piece, this is the one we want you starting to work on as far in advance as possible because it is, like I said, the most important, most valuable asset that you will have created in your business up until this point, and that is your webinar content. I want you to block off time. So we break out the webinar into 4 different sections, and we actually give our clients feedback on every single section. We go through the slides and give feedback on every single section. We want to make sure this thing is working. It's got the right messaging. The copy is great. It's connecting and it's going to convert. Okay. So I'm going to give you a very quick overview of the 5 sections that we put into our webinar. Again, I'm going to be mentioning this a lot in this week's episode, just because the nature of the episode of going through the checklist is it's like, okay, that template would be inside of Yay for 100K, but we have a full slide deck template inside of Yay for 100K with every single individual slide that you would need. Okay. So number 1 is you need to create your intro content. So the intro content is where you're welcoming people to the webinar and you're making sure that they feel like they're in the right place and that they're eager to stick around until the end. That last part is key. They're eager to stick around until the end, because if they don't stick around until the end, they're not going to enroll in the program. So we have to make sure that we're keeping them knowing, hey, this is for me. How did he or she know that this was for me? Okay. The second piece of your webinar that you'll want to create is what we call our framework content. All right. The framework is where you're going to outline your signature framework that is aligned with the modules of your program, of exactly what you teach in your program. Now, a lot of you're like, oh, I want to do a webinar. I'm going to do it on this topic or that topic or this topic. No, we don't want you doing your webinar on any different topic. We want your webinar to be intimately aligned with the framework of your program, okay? We don't want it to be disconnected. We don't want it to, like answer all the questions and give everyone all the how-tos, and then they don't need to enroll in the program, right? We don't want to make those mistakes. So the framework is something I don't want you to freak out about now. This is why we streamline your signature service first, is because in doing that, we help you develop that signature framework that then is going to be used for your program. Really cool, right? This is what makes Yay for 100K so efficient the way that we teach it. All right. So that framework is really the meat and potatoes of the webinar, but trust me, nobody's going to notice that that's the meat and potatoes, because even the way we teach you doing your intro and your, and the sales pitch and all of that is going to be like, it's going to feel like that's the content. All right. The next piece you're going to do is, once your framework is done, is you're going to move into your sales pitch. All right. So I've simplified this into 3 sections. We technically break it into 4 in the program, but I'll let you see what that looks like if you decide to work with us. All right. So the sales pitch content, this is where everyone freaks out, right? They get to the end of the webinar and they go, oh my God, now I'm about to introduce my program. Everyone's going to hate me. It gets really awkward. So we want to make sure you have a seamless transition from content to sales pitch so that even you don't really notice what's happening, right? It can really ease you into it. The energy you bring to your webinar is so important. You have to be on your level 10, level 15 excitement when you deliver the sales pitch to your webinar. The whole webinar, but the sales pitch especially. We can't get quiet. We've got to get excited. All right. So that sales pitch is where you're going to outline your program and you're going to take your time here. The biggest mistake people make in their webinar content or their sales pitch is going through it too fast, because we have this belief that's been ingrained into us that people don't want to hear sales content. And the truth is that when you create a webinar using our template, people are going to be like craving to hear your sales content. They will be like bursting at the seams for it. And every single slide in this sales pitch is essential. Like that section of the webinar in and of itself is worth the price of the program. Okay. So we want to make sure that you're hitting all those steps. Now, no matter what, like even if you don't join us in Yay for 100K, you want to make sure that you have a solid webinar that is doing all 3 of those things, right? You're welcoming people into your webinar in a way that makes them excited to stick around until the end. They know they're in the right place. You outline your framework in a way that doesn't give it all away for free, but feels really valuable because it is. And then you give people an opportunity to work with you inside of your program. So you want to create those. You want to finalize the slides. You want to make sure everything's really polished. And that is the webinar. The next piece we have is your webinar invites. So this can be email and also social media. I should add in here, we don't teach paid ads inside of our program. We don't recommend it to any of our clients. It's not what they should be focused on at that point. It's not what you need. What we recommend is we help you to build your audience over 90 days so that you have an audience of hungry buyers that's organic. We're going to talk about that in a couple of episodes from now, specifically when we talk about the numbers you need for a launch. But that means that when you do launch your webinar, when you start inviting people to the webinar, you'll have an audience who's ready to sign up. So that means that you're going to want to send a few emails to your list and you want to post on social media to make sure that you are inviting people wherever you have a platform to come into your webinar, to sign up for that webinar. And that normally is going to happen about 7 days, about a week before the live webinar. You don't really want to do it that much sooner than, that much earlier than that. 7 days is kind of the sweet spot, because if you do it too early, people just don't show up. Like there's just really no point. So you want to make sure that they're excited about it. 7 days is kind of the perfect window, and send those invites. Again, we give all those templates. If you're wondering like how many emails and what's the template and what should I say, that's what we give to our paid clients. But I just want to make sure that you walk away from this episode knowing what are the elements that you are going to need to have in place, no matter how you decide to get all of that together. Okay. Now, the next thing is setting up your webinar tech. Now, if you're a tech phobe, I want you to take a deep breath. It's okay. Everything is going to be just fine. You can do this. Just like me, I'm like, I can't handle it. You can do this. Don't tell yourself a story about what you're capable of. You can do anything. I believe in you. You've got this. All right. This is going to be so empowering for you. You're going to host your webinar on a webinar platform. Now, You can choose whatever webinar platform you want. They're all very similar. We give a tech overview of the webinar platform that we use. But again, it's all very similar, and every webinar platform has their own tech tutorials. So like you're going to be totally fine there. We support our clients in figuring out those steps if they're confused. And you're going to want to make sure that you set up your webinar on that platform and test your webinar on that platform at least a week before the webinar. You want to feel really confident with that tech, especially if it's new, and really test. Most platforms have like a quote unquote test version where you can go live. It's not really live, but with the webinar, and you can practice being inside of the dashboard of the system. Okay. And then you're also going to want to make sure that you set up your webinar so that you have what's called a pop-up towards the end of the webinar when you give your sales pitch, so that there's like a little link, right? A little button, a little graphic that entices people that goes, okay, click here to enroll in the program. Okay. So that's going to go directly to your checkout page. What you're going to notice about this checklist, ironically, I think I'm using the word ironically correctly, is that we don't teach you to have a sales page for your first launch. We teach our clients they can add a sales page for their second launch, but that it's not necessary. And sales pages are really the thing that people get distracted by and they're obsessed with, and they use it as an excuse for not launching, and it's not necessary. I know, I was a sales page, like my entire business was focused on sales pages for years, and now I'm telling you, you don't need it. Guess what? All the other pieces we have in place, they replace what the sales page does. The webinar replay page, we'll talk about that in a second. All of that is going to replace the sales page, and you're not going to notice a difference. In fact, a lot of people find that they actually have higher conversions without a sales page because it's just that one more step someone has to go to enroll. So that's going to depend on your situation. We'll need to get data for that in your situation, but we don't teach it because we want to make sure that you're getting your course out in the way that works and not trying to have all the bells and whistles. All right. So your webinar registration page, that's the next thing on the list, is having a page for people to actually sign up for the webinar. Now, again, this is really easy inside of Yay400K because we give you literally a lead page template. It might be the easiest thing you'll ever do. You want to make sure there's some specific info on that page. I recommend a countdown timer, the date, a picture of you, 3 super powerful bonus points about the webinar. This copy will be used. It'll be repurposed in other places as well. We have a whole template for helping our clients come up with those bullet points, and then a really obvious button to sign up. Again, we have a template you literally would just copy and update your information. It's proven, it's effective, it works for everybody. Here's what I find, that when we have clients who have design backgrounds or they have a different platform that they use and things like that, and they try to get unique and fancy and custom with their registration page, they actually have lower registration rates. So I would prefer, and I guess I should put this question to you. Do you prefer to have a registration page that looks really pretty but doesn't convert as well, meaning less people are going to come to your webinar, or a page that is not as custom? It looks great, right? It's not ugly, it's great, and converts much higher. That's going to help your data, get more people registered for your webinar, more people attending your webinar, which means more sales for you of your program. All right, so that's the registration page, and there'll be a thank you page attached to that as well. And again, templates for all that. Then we get to your webinar reminder emails. Okay, let's pause here because a lot of people forget about this. They think, oh, they signed up for the webinar, so it's good, it's done, they're going to attend. Incorrect. After, like I said, you don't even want to invite people more than a week out because they'll forget. And what you need to do in between the time that they sign up for the webinar and they attend the webinar is you've got to nurture them. You've got to sell them on attending this webinar, right? Like we've got to go out on this. We can't be lazy here. Again, this is our launch. This is where we're making our money. We want to transition from services to courses, right? So we've got to make sure that we are doing what we can to get people to sign up. Now, the best part is that all this will be set up in advance. So it'll just be automated. You have to do the work in advance. It's automated. Then every time you ever host the webinar ever again, it's already done. You did it once and it's done. Okay. But you will need to draft those emails again, using our templates. I feel like a broken record, but it's just the truth, right? Like, do you want the templates? You want us to make it easy? You want all the email copy? You want the webinar slide deck? You want all of it? We give it to our clients. Like and I'm speaking off the top of my head here, so just know that. But if I added up the value of if I were to sell individual templates and pieces of Yay for 100K separately, it would be more than $20,000. Like there's no way. And we charge way less than that. So I emphasize the templates a lot. I want to emphasize them a lot because it's truly incredible. The difficulty I had launching courses, creating everything from scratch, compared to the difficulty our clients have having all these templates is not comparable. Like it's a different planet. And that's what I want for our clients. I want them to have an easier time launching so they can focus on their expertise and not having to become master copywriters. Now, they all become great copywriters because you need to be in order to have a successful online business. Sorry to break that news to you, but it's important. But having these templates, getting our feedback, it's like a masterclass in copy every single time. Okay? Every time you send a webinar draft to us, a sales email draft to us, whatever it is, we will give you a masterclass on copy to make you so much better at that skill, which will serve you for your entire life. The webinar replay page is next on the list. Now, the webinar replay page is essentially your sales page. What you do is after the webinar, you're going to plop the replay of the webinar on this replay page that you've already built in advance using our template. And you're going to drive traffic to this page after the webinar. So this is like the real secret here is, yeah, you hosted the webinar live, great. But after the webinar, you're going to continue to drive traffic to the webinar so that more people can watch the webinar. You don't want anyone enrolling in your program unless they've watched that webinar. This webinar is what's going to make sure that people are ready for your program and they're going to show up as the best students. Otherwise, they're going to be confused. They're not going to know what's going on. Like the webinar is so important. So we want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to watch that. That replay page is essentially going to serve as your sales page. It's much more simple though. It doesn't have nearly as many sections. And most of this is set up in advance. The only thing you'll have to do after the webinar is download the replay and upload it into lead pages so that you can share it with your audience, share it with people who didn't attend, share it with everyone, right? Like just continue sharing it, which we have templates and strategies for that as well. All right. So that's the replay page. That's where the money is going to be made. The next thing on the list is your webinar freebie. So this is the little worksheet or workbook that you're going to give to people before the webinar. It's going to hype people to be excited about it. I realize this is a little bit out of order, but I'm kind of going a little bit more in like the order in which we create stuff versus when it actually happens, if that makes sense. Keep it really simple. We have a freebie formula. You want it to be really in alignment with the webinar, and you want to make sure that it's enticing people. So you're going to send this to people before the webinar. That's one of the things that's going to get people excited about the webinar and actually make them show up is getting that little preview inside of the freebie. So that's the magic of the webinar freebie. Okay. We're almost getting to the end here. All right, your cart open sales emails. This is the second biggest piece of your launch pie, only after the webinar itself. The sales emails, however, are going to be relatively easy to create compared to the webinar because you're going to be able to repurpose content from your webinar into your sales emails. And we've got essentially Mad Lib style templates for you to use for these emails. I have a whole matrix actually of how you're going to repurpose your content for your sales emails and social media posts after your webinar to drive sales. Okay. It's going to make your life so much easier. So use those templates. You do need time though. It is going to be 100 times easier than if you try to do it yourself. Trust me, I've done it. However, it is still going to take time, especially if you're newer to copywriting. And we also want to be able to give you feedback on those inside of the program. So that's the sales emails. And we have you send, I think it's like 7 sales emails. I'm trying to answer some frequently asked questions here as well. People get really nervous about sending sales emails after the webinar. We have you send sales emails only to those who have registered for the webinar. And that's why we continue to drive traffic to the webinar even after it happened, because then those people will get triggered to get your sales emails. I think we have our cart open. It's about 5 days usually. And then we have you send about 7 or 8 emails. I don't have the number in front of me, but that is what my recollection is saying. Okay, next. This is going to change gears a little bit. Our last few things here. So our customer service response library. I want you to spend some time before your launch creating canned customer service responses so that you're prepared for any questions that are going to come up. This includes like run-of-the-mill questions about like, when are the calls and, what's this module and stuff like that. But it also needs to address big objections, because even a question like, what time are the calls, is really an objection in hiding. What's the objection when someone asks that? Oh, I don't know if I can make the calls live. Okay. So how do we address that? It doesn't matter if you can make the calls live or not. I don't want you to get hooked on, oh my God, when are the calls? Okay. So we want to make sure we're addressing that. You want to create a customer service library. We have a template for this, of course, as in everything. All right. Broken record. I know. But you'll have a Google Doc that you can even hand over to your VA. This will help you to have more bandwidth in your life and work while you go through the launch, which can be crazy making. And they'll be able to answer customer service emails. Okay. Your cart checkout. This is really just techie is setting up your checkout page. So you're going to need e-commerce platform. Sorry, I was forgetting my words there. So we use something called Thrivecart. There's other platforms out there. Thrivecart is great. You create a product, you pay for Thrivecart once, and then you have it forever. You create a product, you create a checkout page there. This is what you're going to link to on your replay page, is directly to this checkout page. And we have also just elements that you'll want to add to your checkout page, like testimonials and your refund policy and, bullet points, just reminding people of what's included and all of that. Now, what's also included in the cart checkout is just the things that you're going to need to do while your cart is open. Okay, I had my webinar, I opened the sales for the course, now what? Well, we want to make sure that you are chatting with folks in DMs. We want to make sure you're answering emails quickly. Speed is of the essence during this time. We want to make sure that you are showing up on social media during your launch. People want to see your face. You're going to do it to the point that you are uncomfortable. And we also want to make sure that you're ensuring that all of your sales emails and social media posts are going out on time. Okay, live broadcasts. You're going to do 4 highly strategic live broadcasts before your webinar. And I'm going a little out of order, but this is kind of usually what people plan last. These live broadcasts are going to create a lot of buzz around your launch and ensure that your audience is warmed up and ready to buy your program. I'm going to be doing live broadcasts like this. I follow this exact method as well, because we're going to be doing a promotion later this month, and I'm going to be doing this exact process. So again, we have templates for this, but the main takeaway I want you to take from this, if you aren't joining us in Yay for 100K, is you need to go live as much as possible. And especially before a webinar, you want to make sure you're going live at least 4 or 5 times with very strategic live broadcast topics that are driving traffic to your webinar. So you want to outline those. You want to email people about it. You want to make sure that those are getting as much traffic as they can get. Your social media posts for your launch when your cart is open when you're promoting your webinar are going to be the easiest content you create, because it's going to be based on content you already created, right? Content you already created for webinar invite emails from the webinar itself, and we have templates for that. So you want to make sure you're sharing on social media. That means Instagram posts, Instagram stories. If you're on Facebook, making sure there's Facebook posts. If you're on LinkedIn, using LinkedIn, whatever it is, to share about your launch. Okay, finally, and this one's a little bit the transition from launching to delivering your program, but we want to make sure you have your program Facebook group set up. Now, the way that I teach programs is that what makes a signature program different from like a typical DIY course where nobody helps you and it's every man for themselves, is we want to make sure that we have coaching, community, and content, okay? And the community is what people get really excited about when they first enroll, especially as we teach. You're going to create your course content as you go, so they might not have a lot to start with, but at least they can have a task to do to join the Facebook group, introduce themselves, etc. So on the checklist, I'm not going to go through everything that it says there, so make sure you go get the freebie at courtneyshall.com/launch checklist, all one word, launch checklist. But we want to make sure your Facebook group is set up and ready to go for your program so that when you launch, it's already there and people can go ahead and sign up and get inside of the program. Okay, so finally, for each of these pieces of content you create, I want to make sure that you are giving them the space they need. Every single item I mentioned is essential. We did not put anything non-essential in this list because We don't want you to do more work than necessary. We want you to do the exact amount of work necessary. Is it going to be a lot? Hell yeah, it's going to be so much work the first time. What I want you to remember is that you're creating assets that are literally going to make you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you choose to launch and relaunch your program over the years. That you do not need to remake a webinar. You don't need to re-rate sales emails. What you're going to do is when you launch, you're going to collect data, okay? And of course, we have a template for collecting your data, but we have specific data points we want you to collect for your launch so that when we can chat with you after your launch and look at that data, we can show you what needs to be tweaked. We can say, which we do with our clients, hey, this email had a really low click-through rate. Let's go through and make sure that the link is really obvious, that the email is really driving people to click, and that it's not confusing that that's what you want them to do, okay? And we can say, hey, your sales conversion rate was really high on the webinar, but you didn't have enough registrants. So we need to make sure that we're increasing the opt-in rate on your opt-in page, right? Like maybe you tried to get too fancy with your opt-in page. That is what I mean by data versus drama. It's not, oh my God, it didn't work. I didn't get as many sales as I want. Like my life is ruined. And I know I'm being a little melodramatic, but like, I'm not cut out for this. It was too hard. It was too stressful, which so many people run into. What I want you to look at instead is, okay, I got 2 sales. What does the rest of the data say? Where can I improve? And really put your scientist hat on and look at it that way to discover what's going on. This is what's going to make sure that your next launch is even better and better and better. All right. So that's it for today. I'm like, my throat is feeling dry from, this was a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, but I just wanted to make sure to run through all of those items. I'd love to have you apply to work with us in Yay for 100K so we can help you to launch your program. And in order to get details about that, you can go over to CourtneyShaw.com/apply. When you do apply, we'll send over details for our exclusive private training where I go through the full program and all the details, including pricing and all of that, right? So if you're curious at all, I really recommend that you apply. And that's it from me today. I will talk to you next time. Yay! Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you love today's content and are ready to finally start making a full-time income from your business this year, make sure to get on the wait list for my program, Yay for Clients, over at yayforclients.com, and you'll be notified the next time enrollment is open. Or if you're already booked with clients and you want to learn how you can turn your signature service into a signature program and add 100K of revenue to your bottom line, come apply to my group coaching program, Yay for 100K, over at CourtneyShaw.com/apply. Thanks again and have an awesome day.